Good evening and thank you for tuning in to Canal Algérie's nightly news. To the headlines. The President of the Republic, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense Abdelmajid Tebboune extends condolences following the martyrdom of Captain Tanah Mohammed while on duty in Tisimsilt. Army General Chief of Staff of the National People's Army supervises the inauguration of the new military infrastructures and is briefed on the professional conditions of the employees of the units of the Central Operational Sector on the last day of his visit to Bashar. The Council of the Nation condemns the statement of the European Parliament that continues to lose its credibility and rejects the repeated dangerous slippage of this institution, stressing that the new Algeria accepts no tutelage or interference. Welcome again. Tonight's beginning, unfortunately, is with this sad news. Captain Tanah Mohammed is martyred while on national duty. The late was buried in his place of birth, city of Franda, province of Tiert. The funeral was attended by the civilian and military authorities, in addition to members of the family of the late and many citizens. Following this painful news, the President of the Republic, Supreme Chief of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, Abdelmajid Tebboune, extended condolences to the personnel of the National People's Army and the family of Captain Tanah Mohammed, who was martyred in a confrontation with a terrorist group in the province of Tisimsilt. Indeed, to Allah we belong, and to Him we shall return. For his part, General of the Army Said Chengeriha, Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, presented his sincere condolences and expressed his profound sympathy with the family of the martyr Tanah Mohammed, praying to Allah Almighty to grant him His mercy and to welcome him in His vast paradise. The operation, which resulted in the martyrdom of Captain Tanah Mohammed, continued and enabled the terrorist group to be besieged and the arrest of its 4 members, namely the terrorist Bilaq Ben Rashid, also known as Addi, who joined the terrorist groups in 2003, the terrorist Zwaber Hamza, who joined the terrorist groups in 2016, terrorist Nwawar Bilal, who joined terrorist groups in 2016, the terrorist Khabaz Ibrahim, also known as Abdel Wadud. During this operation, 3 Kalashnikov machine guns, a semi-automatic Semenov rifle, a grenade, and quantities of ammunition and other items were recovered. The outcome of this operation is added to the outcome of the various counter-terrorism operations carried out by the detachment of the National People's Army, which have allowed the liquidation of a significant number of terrorists, whether by arresting, surrendering, or eliminating them. These results reflect the determination of our armed forces in the fight against terrorism to cleanse our homeland of the remains of terrorist groups and eradicate this phenomenon from our country. On the 4th and last day of his visit to Bashar province, Army General Said Chengeriha, Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, inaugurated new military infrastructures for the benefit of the region, the framework of improving the working and living conditions of the personnel before inspecting a few units deployed in this region. More details with Anya Bahri.
After the welcoming ceremony at the level of the Operational Sector Center, Burj Aqid Lutfi, the General of the Army followed in the company of Major General Mustafa Ismaili, Commander of the 3rd Military Region. An exhaustive presentation presented by the Commander of the Operational Sector, dealing with the combat preparation of units and personnel, before proceeding to the inauguration of the new headquarters of the said Operational Sector, which is equipped with modern infrastructures capable of ensuring the best working conditions for the personnel. The visit continued with the inspection of some units of the Central Operational Sector, where the Army General inquired about the working and living conditions of his personnel. On this occasion, he gave guidance to managers on the need to attach particular importance to human resources and to ensure the improvement of working conditions within the units through direct communication and taking responsible for staff concerns. As part of this visit to the 3rd Military Region, the Army General inaugurated social infrastructures, namely 2 kindergartens in Bashar and Tindouf provinces. These local military infrastructures constitute new achievements for the personnel and their families, as part of the efforts aimed at bringing together adequate working conditions in the southern region.
The Bureau of the Council of the Nation, chaired by Saleh Goudil, expressed its absolute rejection and disapproval of the repeated baseness of the European Parliament, which issued on Thursday a statement containing blatant disinformation that wrapped in principles of international law, when in reality it is only a cover. In the same communiqué, the Bureau of the Council of the Nation calls on the Parliament to abandon its double standards and hopes to see the Parliament react with the same intensity to defend the rights of the oppressed Palestinian people. The Bureau of the Council of the Nation reiterates that the Algerian people revolted against the colonizer, recalling that the new Algeria, under the leadership of the president, has made giant strides in the construction of a modern state and would not let any entity or international organization question its achievements. State institutions base their decision-making on the 2020 Constitution, the November Principles, that the independent judiciary decides and delivers justice to the Algerian people. The Bureau of the Council added that the relationship of Algeria with other countries and institutions is based on mutual respect. Within the framework of the new development approach of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, the Minister of Interior, Local Collectivities and Territory Planning, Brahim Merad, conducted a working and inspection visit to the province of Jilfa, during which he revealed the complementary program concerning the province and evaluated the progress in building an anti-cancer center. The minister also inspected the railway project linking the provinces of Laghouat and Jilfa. On a visit to Ghardaya province, the Minister of Communication, Mohamed Bouslimani, revealed that the new organic law on information constitutes an added value for the national communication policy, which aims to consolidate the rights of media professionals and to draw new perspectives for the mission of the press. The European Parliament has been riddled with corruption and continuous dangerous slips hidden behind the curtain of the international law. However, all of it has failed. Its failed attempts will not affect the sovereignty of Algeria. The full story with Manal Ammari.
The European Union's Parliament's headquarters, located in Brussels, is the biggest European legislative institution. However, if we look beyond the surface, we will find that everything here, including files and international issues, are sold for the benefit of whoever will pay more under the table, including endless scandals and mistakes, which tarnished the reputation of European institutions altogether. Current and former deputies, senior officials, and heads of non-governmental institutions from various European countries were involved in one of the biggest corruption cases that was uncovered by the Belgian justice after being used by the Makhzen to serve its interests against the Sahrawi cause. However, they were put in custody and made the parliament lose all credibility. Another scandal arose which corresponds with this institution's history that is riddled with bribery and corruption, namely the Moroccan and Zionist espionage case Pegasus that involved members of the European Parliament, a case that tops the columns of international newspapers, since now everything has a price, including prizes that the European Parliament gives out in accordance with the slogans of freedom and transparency, sold for stacks of euros, as was the case in the exclusion of the Sahrawi activist Sultana Khaya from receiving this institution's Freedom of Thought Prize after being nominated, with the complicity of Morocco, as was stated by European deputies. Accusations of corruption, money laundering, the formation of criminal groups, and the drafting of false reports are the legislative policies that were approved by the European Parliament, and it is not unusual for members of this institution to shed crocodile tears as they supposedly defend human rights and issue statements of conviction regarding the situation in Ukraine and its refugees' rights, while they turn a blind eye and don't even condemn the situation in Palestine. The European Parliament did not even hide its bias towards the Zionist entity and never discussed or reacted against the displacement of Palestinians, the occupation and the settlement policy, or even the existence of more than 10,000 Palestinian detainees in Zionist prisons, most of whom never even stood trial. Not to forget the situation in Sudan, Syria, Iraq, and Libya before, in addition to slogans related to freedom of speech that are thrown aside when it comes to countries located outside of the European Parliament's coverage area. Otherwise, how would this institution's deputies make the decision to ban the Russia Today network and the Sputnik News Agency in EU countries in order to suppress Russia by so-called advocates of the freedom of press and democracy? As for the assassination of Shireen Abu Aqla, many has been said about the inhuman and deafening international silence regarding her case. This European institution covers up the facts while its members turn to extortion whenever their pockets are emptied and their plans are revealed.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Ahmed Attaf, received an invitation letter for the President of the Republic from his brother, the custodian of the two holy mosques, King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud, for the participation in the 32nd session for the Council of the Arab League on the summit level to be held in Saudi Arabia. The invitation was delivered by the ambassador of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to Algeria. The Minister of Energy and Mines, Mohamed Arqab, was received in the capital of Uganda, Kampala, by the Ugandan President, Yoweri Museveni, where both parties discussed means and ways to strengthen cooperation between Algeria and Uganda in the field of energy and mines. The reception took place in the presence of both heads of Sonatrach and Sonalgaz on the Algerian side, and on the Ugandan side, the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development. For the third consecutive day, Gaza is under the attack of the Zionist occupation army. The death toll exceeded 25 martyrs. All of this happening while the international community remains silent. Tonight, an update on the situation with Wissam Abu Zaid and Sabreen Tefrgennit.
هذا إصرار الشعب الفلسطيني على التخلص من الاحتلال الإسرائيلي الذي تخطى بجرائم.
According to our correspondent's latest news, Wissam Abu Zaid, the Zionist air raids on Gaza Strip continued for the third day, destroying by that many housing units. The death toll is heavy, 29 dead and more than 90 injured. Meanwhile, the rescue workers are pulling the bodies of the martyrs and the wounded Palestinians out of the rubble and were transferred to hospitals lacking the necessary means and equipment.
The
bodies of the martyrs arrived at the hospital completely shredded or charred. The wounded ones arrived with third-degree burns, which required amputation of lower and upper limbs. Many arrived in critical conditions, which could increase the death toll.
ولذلك هناك العديد من الإصابات لا زالت مرشحة للارتقاء شهيدة خلال هذا العدوان.
For its part, the Palestinian resistance continued to launch hundreds of rockets in response to this attack perpetrated by the Zionist army against innocent civilians. The resistance responded to the Zionist aggression and is not willing to let it go. These images of destruction in the south and north of Gaza Strip and in other areas are shamefully witnessed by the whole world. The anger, the pain of Palestinians can't be described in words. This massacre resulted dozens of victims. It's the total chaos we found ourselves in the streets. The Zionist army didn't stop the attacks. Palestinians, on the other hand, won't stop fighting this enemy and its crimes. Crimes that are a total violation of the international treaties.
In Sudan, the situation is not calming down. More than 1 million people are in risk of hunger in the upcoming months, according to the United Nations World Food Programme. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights denounced the unjustified violence in Sudan and called on countries to put pressure on Khartoum to resolve this crisis. The end of the bulletin. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.